It starts, as many of these do, with a single shaky clip uploaded by a local account. Username, rough location, a 2-minute recording that begins like any ordinary night. Porch light on, the hum of traffic in the distance, a dog whining somewhere off camera. Then something small, almost polite, breaks the pattern. The frame jerks. A shadow moves where nothing should be. The uploader types only one line. "I don't know what this is." If you like this kind of thing, stick around until the end. Hit subscribe, leave a like, and drop your theory in the comments. Which clip do you think is real? Which one might be a trick? Share and send anything you want us to look at to the address in the description. We read them all. The first clip comes from a suburban backyard at dusk, shot by someone who posts under @RooftopRachel. The camera is pointed at a small wooden swing set. Kids' laughter echoes faintly off-screen. Present tense, a pale shape slips between the porch light and the trees like someone wrapped in moonlight. The recorder says, "Quiet. Did you see that?" There is no audible reply. The shape isn't solid, more like a smear of shadow that clings to the air and then detaches, crossing the yard without a footstep. The swing, still in the frame, begins to move as if pushed by an unseen hand. Reaction. The uploader's voice trembles when she whispers that the kids were inside. She posts timestamps and tags a neighbor who was home that night. He replies that he heard nothing. Some viewers suggested a long exposure or a slow shutter combined with a flashlight waved off frame. Others point to a darker seam in the tree line where streetlight glare can bend. One thoughtful comment notes the angle of the porch light. That shadow shouldn't be on the swing at all unless the light source is shifting. No follow-up has been posted. The creator lists the clip as unexplained. But the hook stays. This could be a trick of optics, or it could be something else, something that prefers to pass under the glow of human illumination. The second clip arrives at the door. A delivery driver, username redacted, captures the front porch from a Ring-style camera as they leave a package. Present tense. They step back, set the box, and start to turn away. The creak of the gate is audible, then a soft thud at the doorstep. The driver pauses, looking back. There's no one there. Then the door swings inward, slow, deliberate, though the camera is oriented so the latch could not have been nudged from outside. The driver mutters, "No way," and the clip ends. Observation. The latch mechanism is visible for a split second, a glint in the metal, but no hand. Some commenters say it's a draft. Apartment layouts with poorly aligned doors can behave like that. Others note a faint second shadow crossing the frame just before the door moves, an indicator, they argue, of human interference off-camera. The uploader later posts that the homeowner was contacted and insisted they had been inside alone the whole time. No forced entry was recorded. Police were notified in this thread and logged the call as no evidence of foul play after an officer's walkthrough, but many viewers remain unsettled. Delivery recordings are mundane by nature, which makes anomalies on the threshold feel like violations, a breach of domestic routine that raises the question, who or what stands at the edge of our doors when we are not looking? Clip 3 is the sensitive one, flagged by the uploader as filming from a baby monitor. Present tense. A nursery glows blue from a nightlight. A small bottle rests on a table near the crib. The parent, whispering off-camera, jokes about caffeine and sleep deprivation. Then the bottle tips, slowly, like an unseen thumb resting against it, and topples to the floor. The infant stirs but remains asleep. The parent, audibly alarmed, says, "What the bleep?" and moves into the room. Safety note first. Whenever children are involved, the right step is to check the child, document, and, if there is any concern for welfare, contact local authorities or child welfare services. Do not attempt stunts or experiments to recreate the event. Analysis. Some viewers pointed to a loose table wobble or vibration from HVAC systems as the culprit. Others saw the bottle's precise, controlled tilt as evidence of a purposeful push. The uploader later posted an addendum. The crib camera shows no one entering the room, and the window was locked. The poster asked for help rather than a verdict. A few skeptical voices offered a practical test: place a heavier bottle or run the heating fan, but no one should attempt to bait something that might be unknown. The clip's power comes from its domestic intimacy. The nursery, a symbol of safety, is suddenly the stage for an event that unsettles the most basic trust. Next is a long night security camera from a small manufacturing plant. Night shift footage, username @shiftwatcher. Present tense, rows of shelving recede into shadow. The timestamp ticks through 2 in the morning. A forklift's parked silhouette blurs. Then a figure emerges from between the racks, tall and narrow, moving with an unhurried gait that seems to ignore obstacles. The camera, mounted high, captures only the outline. When the figure pauses, the fluorescent lights overhead flare and a low humming sound begins, like distant bees in a metal hive. Commentary. Employees who watched the clip in the thread claim technicians checked the alarm systems and found no breach. Others speculate about a reflection of someone walking outside, recorded twice by a sliding sheet of glass. A forensic-minded viewer slowed the clip and pointed out that the figure's gait lacks knee bend, almost as if the lower limbs are absent. That disturbing observation nudges the interpretation away from mere prank and towards something stranger. The uploader notes that the on-duty manager quit 2 days later, citing uncomfortable vibes. Whether resignation from a job translates to evidence is indeterminate, but the human reaction to fear is itself meaningful. Fear drives people away, and sometimes that's all anyone has left to record. A midday clip from a suburban pool camera comes next. Present tense, sunlight glints off water, children squeal, a barbecued smell wafts through audio. In the reflection on the pool's surface, a round, luminous orb appears, gliding over the water as if it has buoyancy but no contact. The orb pulses once, twice, and then seems to descend below the surface, leaving ripples that do not match the object's size. Skepticals take note that dust on the lens, insects, or low-resolution compression artifacts can create orbs. Still, a handful of commenters say the orb moves with intent, tilting when the camera pans, responding to shadows from nearby people. The creator, who tagged the local amateur paranormal group, posted a follow-up. They had drained and inspected the pool the next morning and found nothing unusual, no mechanical actuators, no evidence of thrown objects. Many people treat orbs as an aesthetic shorthand for the supernatural, luminous, inexplicable, and small enough to be dismissed. But this clip lingers because the orb's motion contradicts what a floating leaf or insect would do. It behaves like an eye that skims the surface. We move to a quieter, more domestic clip. An office breakroom camera catches a chair sliding a few inches across tile at 3 in the morning. Present tense, leftover coffee cups, a microwave clock blinking, and then the chair moves by itself, scraping with a slow, deliberate sound. A janitor who later reviewed the footage says he checked the wheels and found them locked. The janitor's account is included in the thread. The uploader asks if anyone pulled a prank, and replies flood in. Some say, "Stop messing with us." Others post, "Check the foundation," related to nearby construction. Technical interpretations are offered: differential floor heating, building settling, or a breeze through a malfunctioning vent. But one recurring comment points to pet behavior. The office cat, who sleeps under the table, could flick a tail, tip a chair. Yet the janitor denies a cat was present. What the clip asks is less what moved the chair, and more, what does it mean when the furniture in our places of rest begin to shift without form? It erodes the simple assumption that inanimate things will remain still. Clip 7 is a night hike shared by a user who goes by @trailmarauder, an experienced outdoorsman. Present tense, headlamp cuts a cone through trees. The path crunches with leaves beneath boots. He records a distant light bobbing between trunks, at first like another camper's lantern, but its movement is too fluid to be human, corkscrewing, stopping, then retreating when approached. He says, breathy and sharp, "I'm following it," and the clip speeds up as he jogs toward it. The light grows brighter, then vanishes. The audio captures a high-pitched tone at the moment of disappearance that leaves a ringing in the ears of listeners. Outdoor enthusiasts weighed in. Some reported that certain insects, like fireflies, cluster to create weird glows. Others note that headlamp glare in mist can refract through particulates and appear animated. Still, a few responders with thermal cameras asked whether hikers had checked for fauna. Owl eyes, coyote reflections, and the uploader replies that the area was devoid of known nocturnal wildlife that night. The clip plays into an ancient human fear, being led by light into the unknown. Is it curiosity or bait? The hiker, like many of us, followed a strange signal and found only silence where he expected an answer. The eighth and climactic clip is the one that gathered the most intense reactions. It comes from a basement security camera of an older home being renovated. Username kept as the channel's custom moniker. Present tense, low ceiling, crates, the smell of dust caught in audio, and a single, steady bulb that hums. For almost an hour, nothing happens. Then, as the clock edges toward midnight, the bulb flutters. Tools on a bench begin to vibrate softly. A shadow without anatomy slips along the back wall. No feet, no head, only a narrowing suggestion of form that stretches and compresses like an animal seen through rippling glass. Then the hum drops out entirely, replaced by a pressure in the audio, like the tiny thud of a fist against the inner ear, and the camera's timestamp glitches for a full 2 seconds. Reaction and follow-up. The uploader removed the original clip briefly after a viewer alerted them to an old local folktale about a house sleeper, but they later reposted it with that context, asking viewers to keep their minds open. Some viewers were adamant. Compression artifacts during low-light recording can produce stretching shadows. Others pointed to the timestamp glitch as evidence of tampering. Another thread included a comment from an electrician who examined the house and found no wiring failure that would explain the bulb's flutter. The human element again emerges. The homeowners left the renovations on hold for a week because of strange energy, as they put it. Whether the interference lives in the wiring or in something less tangible, the accumulation of subtle anomalies, flicker, vibrate, glitch, shadow, builds to an effect that is greater than any single piece of evidence. Across these 8 encounters, the pattern becomes clear. Mundane settings, ordinary people, and moments when the world deviates from expectation. The narrative tension heightens not because a demon announces itself, nor because a ghost cries out, but because the ordinary fabric of private life is frayed. That fraying raises several hypotheses that are worth considering together. Hypothesis 1. Technical artifacts. Cameras, especially consumer-grade devices, are susceptible to compression glitches, rolling shutter effects, and lighting-driven anomalies. Compression can create orbs. Rolling shutter can shear forms into indistinct, elongated shapes. Auto-exposure adjustments can make shadows appear to move. Many viewers in the threads remind us that the majority of strange footage collapses under forensic scrutiny into mundane explanations. This is a necessary check on credulity. Hypothesis 2. Human intervention. A prankster with timing and a sense of camera placement can manufacture chills. The internet is full of staged hoaxes designed for clicks and notoriety. But staging becomes less plausible in cases where follow-ups show consistent anomalies across different times, or where witnesses describe physical sensations, cold spots, electrical failures that accompany the footage. For viewers inclined toward the metaphysical, these are moments when the veil thins. Throughout the series, commenters act as a kind of community critique, offering slow-motion breakdowns, calling out possible reflections, suggesting controlled tests. That communal skepticism matters. It prevents the acceptance of claims without evidence, and it also humanizes the creators. Many of them are frightened or baffled and simply want to know what to do. The responsible advice, repeated across the threads, is practical. Secure your children, if present, log the incident, check for mechanical or environmental causes, and, when safety is a concern, notify local authorities. There are moral costs to curiosity, though. Several commenters urged restraint when the footage suggests a possible intruder. Don't confront, document, and call for assistance. In the clip where the door opens, someone breaking in is a reasonable fear. In the nursery clip, the parent's first duty is the child's safety, not public spectacle. We must balance the urge to probe with the duty to protect. And then there are the threads of human reaction, how fear manifests in the mundane. The worker who quits, the homeowner who stops renovating, the parent who sleeps in the living room for a week. These are the afterlives of uncanny moments. They are data points that no camera can capture fully, the way a person rearranges their life around an unease that may never be explained. That psychological residue might be the most persuasive evidence of all. If something unseen can alter the routines of the living, its existence is measured in the ripple effects it leaves: changed behaviors, whispered precautions, doors double-locked. So what are we left with after 8 clips and 1,000 comments? There is no single verdict. There is, however, an accumulation of doubt and a persistent itch to know more. Some encounters will dissolve under inspection. Others will harden into enduring mysteries because they intersect internal fear with external anomaly. The tapes that haunt us are those that take private spaces and show them behaving as if watched. Before we go further, ask yourself, which of these 8 would you investigate further? Which one feels easiest to explain, and which continues to crawl under your skin? In the comments, people argued for different winners. Some said the forklift figure, others the nursery bottle. The diversity of opinion is a reminder that evidence speaks differently to different observers. We will keep watching with you. If you have footage like this, send it through the method in the channel info, and we will take a look. Meanwhile, a few final cautions. Do not attempt to replicate potentially dangerous situations. Do not enter unsafe spaces alone. If you believe a crime may have occurred, notify the police. If children are at risk, seek child welfare support. Curiosity is powerful, but it should not override safety. We'll return to this thread with deeper analysis of selected clips, slowed down frames, and, if the community wants it, expert commentary. For now, keep your lights on, keep your cameras rolling, and tell us which clip made you pause in the dark. We began our deeper look by picking the clips that sparked the sharpest disagreement: the forklift silhouette in the warehouse footage and the nursery bottle that seemed to tilt on its own. Each offered different challenges. One was industrial scale and distant, the other intimate and immediate. The methods we used had to reflect that difference. Forklift figure. What we did. First, the warehouse footage. At normal speed, the figure reads like a human at a glance. A torso, a head, a slow lateral drift between stacked pallets. But slowing it to quarter speed revealed oddities. The head changed shape subtly from frame to frame. The shoulders did not move in a way consistent with the weight distribution of a person carrying something. More telling, reflections and repeated noise in neighboring frames suggested a layered effect rather than a single object. Dr. M, an optical physicist who consults on visual forensics, ran 2 tests in our controlled mock-up of the warehouse corridor. Test 1 recreated camera constraints. Same model of security camera, same focal length, identical tungsten overheads, and a forklift passing at varying speeds. Test 2 introduced reflective surfaces. Metal sheeting propped at angles facing the camera, thin plastic tarps hung between pallets. Under those conditions, a moving forklift and a combination of reflections produced fast, transient silhouettes that, when compressed by the camera's codec, registered as a humanoid outline in certain frames. 2 mechanisms were implicated. The first was parallax. Slow, large objects at different depths can project outlines that appear to detach from their sources when the camera's exposure and frame cadence interact with intermittent light. The second was compression artifacting. When the camera reduces file size, it averages motion across blocks of pixels. That averaging can smooth a complex shape into a simpler, more familiar one, a human outline our brains are quick to accept. We also examined metadata and cross-checked timestamps. The clip's original file carried a steady frame interval and no sign of splice, but the compression level was aggressive, typical of low-bandwidth remote cameras configured to save storage rather than fidelity. That reduces the evidentiary weight of any peculiar silhouette, not because something supernatural is impossible, but because the recording chain here is biased toward false positives. Nursery bottle. What we did. Contrast that with the nursery clip, a single still frame of a bottle upright on a shelf, then, some minutes later, tilted at an angle as if nudged by an unseen hand. Here the medium was different. A high-definition baby monitor with infrared illumination uploaded by an anguished parent who wanted to know whether their child was being bothered in the night. Our approach combined technical analysis with human-centered interviewing. We examined the footage, of course, in real time and at reduced speed. We requested the original file, not a re-encoded copy, and a short log from the parent. Room temperature, pets, whether the child had woken, whether anyone else had entered that room. The video showed a low-frequency shimmer across frames when the monitor's IR LEDs engaged. In near darkness, the camera's auto gain and IR response amplify tiny particles in the air, dust motes, a loose thread on a curtain, that become bright points moving through the scene. In one of our controlled recreations, a slow draft through a partially closed vent sent a millimeter-thin ribbon of plastic across a shelf. Under IR, that ribbon registered as a persistent line that, when sampled at the monitor's frame rate, produced the appearance of a small object changing orientation. We also considered the shelf and bottle geometry. The bottle's label had a seam. The cap's planar profile catches light differently at small angles. A slight vibration of the shelf, caused by a washing machine spin cycle in an adjacent room or by someone slamming a door, can produce enough micro-movement to let gravity and an imperfect base tilt a lightweight plastic bottle. We ask the parent to place a small weight into the bottle and re-record overnight. The next morning, the bottle remained upright. The fact that the anomaly did not recur under controlled conditions does not prove a supernatural cause. It does, however, point to a confluence of fragile physical conditions, IR amplification, slight drafts, shelf vibration, lightweight object, that together can explain the recorded motion. Audio and electromagnetic anomalies. Neither visual tests nor recreation explained every detail. Several clips across the set contained a low, pulsing hum at moments of greatest anomaly. Faint in the original recording, but visible as a band in spectrographic analysis. In one case, the hum preceded an electrical outage in the house and coincided with a cluster of motion artifacts. To probe this, we brought in an electrical engineer. The engineer measured transient voltage spikes and harmonic distortion in the wiring of several houses where anomalies were reported. Older houses with marginal grounding, corroded junctions, or improperly installed dimmers exhibited electrical instability. Appliances and cameras behaved erratically during brief surges. Those surges can cause cameras to reset or to clip frames at the moment of disturbance, producing visual discontinuities that our eyes interpret as unnatural motion. In at least 2 of the submitted clips, we could correlate a camera reset with a power dip logged by the homeowner's smart meter, a simple, publicly available device one can ask an electrician to install. When equipment restarts mid-capture, frames stitched by the camera's firmware are vulnerable to artifacts. Importantly, none of this proves that every haunting clip is mechanical. It does, however, create a path by which a range of innocuous physical processes produce footage that appears uncanny to a human observer. The human cost and the ethics of sharing. The technical arc is not the whole story. As we followed up with those whose clips we analyzed, a different pattern emerged. People who upload these moments roughly to 3 audiences: friends and family, curiosity-driven strangers, and the algorithm-driven masses, rarely anticipate the second and third psychological weight.
One homeowner told us they regretted posting a clip of the door opening because the thread became a crucible. Dozens of strangers instructed them how to protect the home, others accused them of staging it, and a few sent private messages that felt threatening. The parental poster of the nursery clip described feeling worse after the clip went viral. Despite the support messages, she lay awake imagining every shadow as a threat. For each uploader, there is a complicated calculus, a desire for answers, a plea for validation, and the risk of becoming a spectacle. There are ethical minima we recommend. Before you post, redact identifying details. Delay public release until immediate safety is secured. Consider submitting to a neutral forensics channel or a trusted expert who can preserve the original file and provide guidance. And for those who comment, skepticism is valuable.
So is restraint. What patterns matter? If there is a developing hypothesis that survives the first cuts of investigation, it is this. Many anomalies cluster around thresholds, doorways, windows, places where one environmental domain meets another, and around equipment that trades off fidelity for continuous coverage, low bitrate cameras, IR-dependent monitors. These are fertile conditions for illusion, parallax, reflection, compression, IR bloom, electrical transients. When these technical vulnerabilities intersect with human fear, tired parents, late-night workers, residents of old houses, the interpretation tends toward agency, something with intent. But agency is not the only plausible reading. Agency can be a linguistic shortcut we use to make sense of coincidence. A creak is not necessarily a presence. A speck of dust caught in IR is not necessarily a visitor. What comes next? We will next publish a granular frame-by-frame breakdown of the forklift clip, annotated frames, overlaid motion vectors, and a side-by-side of our controlled recreation, so that viewers can see how a combination of reflective surfaces and compression can produce a convincing human silhouette. We will also release the nursery tests, the spectrograms, the shelf vibration logs, and the IR demonstrations that show how tiny threads and drafts become luminous lines in dark conditions. We are not closing the case. Some files resist simple explanation. Some witnesses report physical sensations, cold spots, the feeling of being watched that do not show up on cameras. Those experiences are real and deserve careful attention. They require a different kind of inquiry, one that pairs forensic discipline with psychological care. If a household reports ongoing fear or disruption, the priority is safety and support, not public spectacle. If you plan to send footage, include the original file and a short context log. Exact time, weather or HVAC conditions, presence of pets or heavy machinery, any recent electrical work. Preserve the device. Avoid re-encoding, keep power sources stable, and record any attempts at replication. We will continue to triage submissions with the same combination of technical scrutiny and human concern. For now, we close this segment with a practical, observable challenge. Watch one of your old security or baby monitor files in slow motion. Note where your eye fills a gap, where an object becomes a person, where a flash becomes an apparition. Much of what we fear is what our senses, optimized for survival, not forensic truth, fill in between frames. There is more to come. Annotated breakdowns, expert commentaries, and a conversation about what responsibility looks like when the uncanny becomes public. We keep the lights on, the cameras roll, the questions remain.